All right, everybody, welcome back to another Superhuman Customs. I'm going to do something a little bit simpler today, and I want to kind of show you a couple of the things that I've been working on since my last video where I showed you the Brainiac. So what I decided to do was just kind of play around. I want to practice, because since I'm still just learning all of this stuff, I wanted to kind of just take a couple of figures that I just kind of play around with. So what I did is right here. So I took this Dark Knight's Metal Superman that I had bought for $5 at a convention like a year ago. And I never really cared for him that much. And I was actually thinking about selling him just because it was like, you know, whatever. But I decided instead to customize him. I'm really glad that I did. So what I took is I just did some black here on the belt, or on these belts on his boots. I added some wash along here. I gave him 5 o'clock shadow because I hated the face. And he looks much, much better just with some simple things that I did to him. And so then I was a little bit inspired, and I was like, okay, now I'm really gonna play around. And so I created, here's a real experiment piece. So this is 100% experiment. He's not even a full character. Basically, I had an Odin head from a Collect and Connect from years ago. I don't even remember what Marvel figure it came with. And then I had a He-Man body, and I had gotten the King Shazam, and I had taken him apart just for parts. And when I saw the cape, I was like, oh, that's a really cool barbarian cape. I wonder what it would look like on a He-Man body. So I took the He-Man, because I'm gonna buy the new He-Man coming out, the 40th anniversary one that looks more like the one that I had when I was a kid. So I knew I was gonna, I didn't know what I was gonna do with this figure. So I made my own little barbarian king. I took the sword from the, oh God, what was it? The Frost Giant whatever thing from, it was a Collect and Connect that came with a John Stewart figure that I have. And I painted it silver and added some detail on the hilt. And then I took the Odin head and I put some putty in there so that his head would stick really well. This crown is actually from like my daughter's, from a Barbie or something. I found it on the floor and was gonna throw it away because there's like 10 of them. So I cut it down. I actually melted it so that it would fit his head just with a lighter. And then I added some details. I added the white here on him. And then I went through on the muscles, and this is the first time I really tried to do a, let me kind of put them out here so you can see them a little better, to do a wash to accent the muscles and have it actually work. So I was able to figure that out. I'd tried it before and I couldn't make it work. It just got everywhere. And I was able to make it work so that I could accent his muscles, which is what I wanted. And then I just went crazy with accessories. So I found like a broken mace from a Hawk Girl, and I just hooked, I cut a piece of plastic that had a hook on it, and I painted it to match the belt and glued it there. This was a Hawk Girl, a totally different Hawk Girl shield that looks like a barbarian shield. This right here was actually a bandolier. It was met with a gun belt, and I cut it so to make it look like teeth. I painted it, and then I actually took a couple of Legos and cut them so that it would look like you had some jagged teeth. So this is really just a huge kit bash, but that I was able to kind of learn a lot about in doing this. And so I'm really happy with how he turned out. He looks super cool, and he's just a totally unique character. Some, you know, Odin King Barbarian guy. So what I'm gonna do today, I bought 3 characters. Now I told you in my last video that I've been looking for characters cheaply. Well, I ended up having a $15 credit on Amazon that I needed to use. And so I was like, well, I'll get that Wonder Woman so that I can, because I told you I want to do the Future State Wonder Woman, right? Well, they didn't have her on Amazon. They had her for a secondary thing and I couldn't use it. But I found one that I really did want. I wanted the maskless Batwoman Beyond. And I found it for 10 bucks. So I was like, oh, well, I had to spend at least $30 to get the 15 bucks off. So I was like, well, if I can find 2 other characters for 10 bucks, well, then they're only $5 a piece for me. So I found her, and then, whoops. And then I found this Batman Beyond. This is what we're gonna be working on today. I'm gonna turn him into a normal Batman Beyond. This is the Inque Batman Beyond. I was able to find him for like $9. And so I got him. And then, because I was working on that Wonder Woman, I found her for $9. And I was kind of like, well, okay, I can use her if I want. But then after looking at her, I was like, no, I need to have that other, the one with the mohawk. Because first of all, her suit is almost perfect for what she wears, other than I just need to paint a little bit on her midriff, on her stomach. to make her match. That's all. And then with the mohawk head, I've got a 3D pen that my daughter has that I'm going to actually create the hair in the ponytail that she has. So I'm super excited. So I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with this. I have no idea. She's got lots of options for her, but this is going to take some time to think about what I want to do with this one. So we will see. But we are working on the Batman Beyond today, and why don't we go ahead and jump into it. All right, so I got Batman Beyond out of the package. Now this is the Inque Batman Beyond, so you can see it's got kind of the bluish purple symbol and the dot, and then it's got kind of a shade all over it of a light blue, which I actually really like. When about 20 years ago, my wife bought me a Batman Beyond from the Return of the Joker movie, and if you shined it in the light, it actually was translucent, like he was invincible. And I let my oldest son play with it and it disappeared. So I liked this, I actually liked this kind of bluish wash on it. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm actually going to take my standard red model paint, Model Air AV, and I'm going to paint over the symbol and over that. And then I'm going to replace the wings. So my daughter, my 9-year-old, who's actually standing right over here watching me because she wants to see this, she said that we could trade these wings out. They're the exact same wings. So this is her Batwoman Beyond. And the wings just pop off. So we're gonna test it. And if she likes it, then it'll be a permanent switch. And we might paint hers a little bit purple. So they just pop just out like that. We'll do the same thing with Batman Beyond. Just pop them right off. Takes a little bit of, let's see, come on. Oh, there we go. My goodness, that was a little bit tougher. All right, and so they pop off, and then you can just pop them back on, like so. All right, so now we have our Batman Beyond with regular wings. My daughter decided that she did want to keep the purple wings, so I'm going to actually paint hers purple, and this one we're gonna go with the red. So what I'm gonna do here, very simply, is I'm gonna take just some of this red paint, and I usually have like a paper plate or something, but I've just got some construction paper here that's thick enough, and I'm gonna put a few drops here, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, and so what I'm gonna do first off is I'm gonna use a really small tipped brush, and I'm just gonna start on this symbol. Now I really like these paints because they go on nice and thin, as you can see. And so the finished product it tends to look a little bit more like manufactured. But you have to do several different coats with this paint in order to pull that look off. But I like it more than those model paints I was using before that went on really thick, because it made things a little bit more, like the second it was on, and it was thick and it would leave behind brush lines. And with this, it really doesn't. It kind of dries nice and thin. So I'm using this small brush because first I'm gonna coat everything. And then for me, it's really important to get the edges, the little in here between the body. And I gotta be nice and careful when I do that because I don't want to get on the black. Now I could paint this character completely black. I have a matte black that I can use. But like I said, I really like this purple. And so that's what I'm going to stick with. I like the little bit of just purpley details that are all over this guy, because it just makes it, for me, it gives it a little bit of, oh, we got a little bit on the black there. And if you get it fast enough, like I can just get it with my finger, see, and it's off, taken care of. Yeah, I like the little purple details because it just gives it a feel. It makes it look a little bit more real. And I've been liking that. And one other thing I've noticed a lot lately doing this is just how important little details are. So I didn't show it, but yesterday, my oldest son, who's 18, he collects a little bit, not as much as I do, but if he finds a character he likes, then he gets it. Well, so he got this Joker character, and it was a McFARLANE like these, but it was from the Mortal Kombat line. And I'm gonna have to get one because it was the most beautiful Joker I've ever seen. Like, it looked like a real person. But instantly I noticed that there were just missing details. There weren't a lot of paint apps. And so he asked me last night to add some of them. And so I did. And you can see here just the difference that some of those little details make. And all I did, I painted the suspenders orange, and I added a little bit of light green for the buttons just to make those pop a little bit. I added a little bit of extra blood just on places where I thought if Joker was killing someone, there would be blood. Just a few drops here and there. I didn't want to go crazy. And then I painted the belt as well. I just painted it black, and you can see the yellow there. And so that was, for me, it just really makes him pop, really makes him cool. All right, so now I'm gonna get the dot right here and make that, put on the first. And the nice thing about these small brushes is that you can get really close to all of this stuff. And how I do it, I just have a steady hand, I'm lucky. I try not to get too much paint on, and then I get it so that the brushes just go and touch just the edge. And it ends up usually really coming out really nice. If I can get right in on that edge like this. And it makes a huge difference because now he's starting to look like a regular standard Batman Beyond and not someone pretending to be Batman Beyond. Now when you're doing some of the detail in here on these edges, you just need to remember, you need to realize that you're going to get some paint on the body. That's just going to happen sometimes. So you've got to be really careful, but when you do, just know that you have options. Like for me, see there was a little bit right there, is that I do have some black that I can just put in those little spots. And so I will do that with my matte black, because for me it's important to get this edge. And so I'm getting a little bit more than I'd like. I'm concentrating too much on filming. But I can put a little bit of matte black and it will fix that. And so that is what I'm going to do, because you can see I got a little bit right in here, a little bit on the black. So I'll just take some matte black and I will fix that. But for now, I'm not going to worry about it. It's more important for me to get that edge and then to put the black in. So you just need to remember when you're in this position and you're doing this kind of work, it can be dangerous if you don't have some paint that's going to go and fix that. All right, so it took me about 5 coats to get it to the red that I wanted it. But as you can see, it looks really nice. It turned out, I even put a little bit of a glaze on there so it's nice and shiny. I think it looks just perfect. I'm very happy with it. But if you're paying attention, you can see right here that it needs a little bit of black. So I've got some here and we're going to fix that up. And then as far as I'm concerned, at that point, we're gonna be done. Very thin paintbrush, and we're just gonna go in a little bit here, just along the edges. And it will dry matte, so it won't have a shine to it, which is nice. It might stand out a little bit against the bluish black, but this one's gonna put just enough. It's the little details that really make the difference in what these customized figures look like. And they don't have to be perfect by any means or even comic accurate. As long as you've got some good detail in there, it's gonna look cool. Like even just that Joker that I showed you, that was just enough to make him stand out and make him unique. And it really looked nice. Now right here, if you notice, he's got a lot of little blue right there. And I don't really like it, so I'm just gonna go through and just kind of cover it a little bit. There's very little paint on the paintbrush right now. Just gonna go through, add a little bit just to make it so that little blue spot is not as noticeable. There we go. Now, one other thing I'm thinking about doing is that in Batman Beyond, this part is black in between. So I think I'm gonna add some black here too. Just cause, so. Just these little bits, you're never really gonna notice. You know, you'll think they would have been there anyway, but they're not. And now it's going to really pop. Like I was just seeing today, the Azrael Batman, the McFARLANE version of it, and looks great. I'm gonna get it. But the hands don't have the light gray or the silver on the claws. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do that and add it because that's what I want from my Batman. And then I was looking at the parallax coming out, and I like my parallax with gray temples, with gray hair over his temples, and so I'm gonna do that first thing when I get him. All right, well, in my opinion, he is done. I'm very excited with how he turned out, and he only cost me $5. A little bit of time on the paint, which I really enjoy. And now that if you can look here and you can see that the matte black really does blend in beautifully with the sort of blue wash that it has on it. I'm very happy with how it turned out. And so there you go. That's how you can turn an ink Batman Beyond into an actual Batman Beyond. And you might be able to find an ink cheaper, since it is kind of, you know, a lot of people have already bought the Batman Beyond. A lot of people aren't going to want the ink. And so you might be able to find one really cheap on discount, $5 worth of paint and a half hour of time, and you've got your perfect Batman Beyond. You could even paint the wings if you wanted. I obviously was able to just swap them with my daughter, which was lucky for me. But if not, you can paint them the exact same way, even just using regular craft paint and not this type of paint. The craft paint would go right on over the top and it would look great. So there you go. I'm Steve Human with Superhuman Customs, and I will see you guys next time with another custom figure.